After a great 2-day stay at Washoe Lake State Park in Nevada, we have completed our chores including grocery shopping, laundry, and refueling the van. We're now ready to continue our trip south along the rugged escarpment of the eastern Sierras. From Topaz Lake at the Nevada-California border down to the California Highway 14 junction is about 300 miles. We'll likely go a bit further as we plan to explore several places along the way, including the town of Bridgeport, the shores of Mono Lake, Mammoth Lakes, a popular skiing destination, Bishop, and Lone Pine, where we plan to camp at the base of Mount Whitney. But all of that is still ahead in this episode. There's lots of driving and scenic views still ahead. So come along for the ride. Our overnight stop in Bridgeport is at a camp spot on the east shores of the Bridgeport Reservoir, which was created by the damming of the Walker River. Our camp has more views of the Sierras and provided a quiet night, with the temperatures continuing to warm up despite us being at an elevation of about 6,500 feet. The forecast for the next week is predicting mild temperatures with sunny skies, just what we are hoping for. Bridgeport is the county seat of Mono County. It's a small town, just about 600 people live here, but as with many of the small western towns, it is equipped with all the essentials. This town is a well-known tourist destination, primarily for trout fishing. The town is of course a great jumping off point for adventures in the mountains, hiking and backpacking in the summer, and various snow sports in the winter, including snowshoeing, skiing, and snowmobiling. We fuel up and continue on down the road. The terrific views of the mountains continue, the snow-capped Sierras becoming taller and more majestic as we head further south, with various peaks in excess of 11 and 12,000 feet coming into view. After crossing the Conway summit, elevation 8,143 feet, the road begins a sweeping downhill run to the shores of Mono Lake. We take advantage of a pull-off with magnificent views to the south. The lake is almost 2,000 feet down from where we stand. just in time for lunch, we pull into the Mono Basin Scenic Area Visitor Center. Inside the Visitor Center, we learned that Mono Lake is a very large saltwater lake covering some 70 square miles. The lake is home to trillions of brine shrimp and alkali flies, a food source for millions of migratory birds. Its lakeshore also has unusual limestone formations called tufa towers. The lake is unfortunately a very stressed environment, whose decline started back in 1941 when the city of Los Angeles began diverting water for its growing population. Over the next 40 years, the lake level dropped 45 feet and exposed the lakebed edges, leading to huge alkaline dust storms. Efforts started in the late 1970s to try and save the lake when a series of state and local governmental actions were taken to stop the water diversions. Despite the lake's declining situation, the views of Mono Lake and the surrounding plains are stunning, and we can only imagine what it is like when the migratory birds, including the California seagull, fly in during the seasons.
Lots of birds out there. This is amazing.
Into the big mountains now. South of Mono Lake, we spot a scenic diversion to our right, the June Lake Scenic Drive, a 15-mile loop that will wind its way back to US 395, a bit further south. Well, what a diversion it is. A chance for us to get up close to the towering Sierras and to check out a series of alpine lakes along the way. Just when we thought the road and views couldn't get any better, they do. It's also fascinating to think that just on the other side of the mountains, just 10 miles to the west as the crow flies, lies majestic Yosemite National Park. The only way to get there from here is over Tioga Pass Road, near the town of Lee Vining, just south of Mono Lake, which, as it happens, is still closed for the winter, but scheduled to open up this coming Friday. We would be tempted to wait and cross over otherwise, but it's just as well, as there is so much more unexplored territory for us to see heading south. The first lake we come to is Grant Lake. The water seems low, I suspect due to the previous winter's lower snowpack. Beyond Grand Lake, we near the base of the mountains proper, and at Silver Lake, we get our first views of Carson Peak at nearly 11,000 feet tall. Beautiful. We pass Gull Lake and enter the town of June Lake with its namesake just on the north side of town. We stop in to see the June Lake Beach, relax a bit, and soak in the majestic scenery. Our diversion on the June Lake Loop took the better part of half a day, but our only regret is that we didn't stay longer. Another teaser experience that naturally concludes with a "we've got to come back here again" promise. Our planned route for today was as follows: from Bridgeport down to Mammoth Lake, from there to June Lake, and then on to Mammoth Lakes. Of course, we took that unplanned June Lakes Loop detour just south of Levining. We complete the loop by making our way back to US 395. There are still many miles to Mammoth Lakes and our overnight stay there. We mentioned early in this episode that we planned visits to Mammoth Lakes, Lone Pine, and Mount Whitney. I suspect we will be including several other destinations along the way. Yet another part to the eastern side of the Sierras for next time. We've heard it said many times, though, that the journey is the destination.
Beautiful pine trees.
This episode is once again proof of that maxim. Beautiful roads, backcountry towns,
Just gorgeous.
scenic alpine lakes, and cold-flowing streams, high snow-capped peaks, and endless views of rolling plains and pine forests. It's an absolute delight for the senses, these roads less traveled.